Hey everyone. My name is Natalie Benali, and I am the First People's Fun Performing Arts Program Manager. And today I will be sharing with you an application tutorial for our upcoming 2027 live production grant application window. So let's just get right into it. Okay. All right. So we are so excited that we are once again being able to offer the live production grant to Native-led performances and live productions. So what I'll share in this presentation is just some information to keep in mind if you are considering applying for this year's application window. And let's just get right into it. So here's just an overview of topics I'll cover today. So I'll talk about our Native Performing Arts program. I'll share more information about the live production grant itself. I'll share eligibility requirements as well as steps on how to apply. I'll share how applications are scored and then go into how the selection process works. And then I'll share some timeline and important dates and then some helpful tips to help you on your application journey. And then I will also share my contact information in case you have any questions of the information that I share with you all today. So let's get started. All right, so just a little blurb about our Native Performing Arts program. So the program is designed to support Native performing artists emerging and established in developing and enhancing their artistic skills and knowledge. The program strives to provide Native performing artists with more equitable access to the resources they need to enhance their creations and careers. This includes funding, mentoring, financial capability, and business development training aligned with their cultural values. So there are three components that make up the Performing Arts program. So one of which is the Native Performing Arts Fellowship, which is another funding program that I will share more information on soon. And then the one I'll be talking about today is the Live Production Grant, which is our other funding program for Native Performing Arts. And then we have our Performing Arts Native Artist Professional Development Training that we do around Turtle Island. We partner with different organizations to implement training to help performing artists all across Turtle Island. So yeah, so those are the three parts that make up the Performing Arts program here at First People's Fun. So I always like to share the definition of how we at First People's Fun define performing arts. So Native performing arts is a time-based performance or experience that honors, exposes, educates, challenges, and celebrates the multifaceted stories of Indigenous peoples. Native performing arts centers Indigenous beliefs and values in funding, developing, creating, and presenting performative works. It is a platform for collaboration, discourse, intergenerational engagement, and living resistance in which Native performing artists from all disciplines of performing arts can create innovative work for audiences worldwide. All right, let's get down to the nitty gritty about the live production grant, also known as the LPG. So the LPG is intended to support Native-led live performing events and performances that include multiple Native performers and artists. So this is the performers that are on stage and the folks who make it all happen in the technical aspect, all right? So the grant offers a one-year $30,000 grant to individual Native performing artists and Native-led performing arts organizations, businesses, collectives who have experience in presenting live productions. So this is something that you can apply for as an individual artist or as part of an organization, business, or collective, okay? So live production means that the artists are actively engaged in the creation of a live performance, either in person or virtual, okay? So this may include things like original or readapted theatrical plays, tours, performances that take place in Native communities, and other forms of live performance that may not fit into conventional performance categories. Things like music shows, concerts, fairs, fashion shows that involve performers. So there really is like a various way that you could present a live performance. And if you have any questions about the live performance or production that you want to apply for, you're always more than welcome to reach out to me and ask. Alrighty. Because this is meant for live productions that are in the active stage of creation and being presented, proposed live productions that are still in development, that's either in writing retreats or workshops, those will not be considered. Okay, so if you're thinking about your what you want to apply for in terms of your live production, is your live production ready to go? Like, is it ready to be presented? Is it ready to be performed? If it's still like in the development stages, if you're still writing or workshopping it, unfortunately, those proposals will not be considered. Okay, just something to keep in mind. So because this grant is available to individual artists and organizations and businesses and collectives, I'll go over the eligibility requirements for individual artists first. So applicants, and this is applicants for all of our First Peoples Fund funding programs, must be at least 18 years of age at the time of the application. Applicants must reside and be based within the U.S. Applicants must be an enrolled member of or provide proof of lineal descendancy from a U.S. federally recognized or U.S. state recognized tribe, or be able to provide proof of ancestry as an Alaskan Native or Native Hawaiian. Okay, if you have any questions about that, feel free again to reach out. Applicants must be Native practitioners, traditional and or contemporary, that have experience in performing arts mediums. So this could be theater, music, dance, powwow, drumming, etc., and other forms of live performance that may not fit into those conventional categories, okay? And that applicants have a sustained experience of work, meaning that they have a body of work that demonstrates a level of accomplishment, commitment, and artistic excellence, okay? Applicants may not be enrolled in any academic degree conferring program, and any live productions that include activities that are part of an applicant's coursework at an institution of higher learning will not be considered, i.e. senior or thesis exhibitions, juried student shows, basically anything that is involved in a coursework at an institution. Those unfortunately will not be eligible or considered, okay? Current FPF grantees of Native Arts Ecology Building, Weaving Kinship, Rooted Pathways, and Community Spirit Award are not eligible to apply for the LPG until their grant period has concluded. All right. And applicants may not apply to the same program in succession. So for example, if you received the live production grant in 2026, you are not able to apply to the 2027 round. All right. If you are a previous grantee with First Peoples Fund, you must have submitted a final report for any previous awarded FPF grants. So if you're unsure whether or not you need to submit a final report for any grants that you might have received from First Peoples Fund in the past, you are always more than welcome to reach out to us and ask and double check. Okay. All right, moving over to organization, business, and collective eligibility. So lead applicants. So this is the lead applicant refers to the person who's going to be listed on the application that is going to be representing your organization, your business, or your collective. Okay. So that individual must be 18 years of age at the time of the application. They must reside and be based within the U.S. All right, and the organization and business and collective must have experience in traditional and or contemporary performing arts mediums. Again, they're listed there, and that, you know, the applicant and organization, business, collective have sustained experience. Again, have a body of work that demonstrates that, you know, you have experience putting on live productions and performances. All right. I go back and forth between using production and performance. You know, they're basically the same thing, just, you know, two different words that kind of intangibly I use back and forth. Okay. All right, moving on. So the lead applicant / leadership of an organization, business, collective must be an enrolled member of or provide proof of lineal descendancy from a U.S. federally recognized or U.S. state recognized tribe, or be able to provide proof of ancestry as an Alaskan Native or Native Hawaiian. So leadership could be the director, the CEO, president, producer, artistic director, etc. The main emphasis is that the organization, business, and collective must be a Native-led one. All right. So so just keeping that in mind. If you have any questions or anything, again, feel free to reach out. And also please note that if awarded, if you are selected for the LPG, the lead applicant, the person who's listed on your application for your organization, business, or collective, will be the person who's going to be signing all of the First Peoples Fund documents and financial forms. So just make sure that whoever is going to be listed as your lead applicant is in agreement with that responsibility. All right. And that if you have a specific person at your organization or your business or in your collective that is your designated person that signs all documents and contracts, make sure they are the ones who are listed on the application. So yeah, I just always want to make sure I clarify that so that that way everyone is in agreement on who is signing and who is being put on applications as the lead applicant, okay? Lead applicants may not be enrolled in an academic degree conferring program. Again, make sure whoever's listed is not a student of any institution. And that, again, activities that are part of an applicant's coursework at an institution of higher learning will not be considered. Same as the individual requirement, okay? And current FPF grantees of Native Arts, Ecology Building, Weaving Kinship, Rooted Pathways, and Community Spirit Award are not eligible to apply until their grant program has concluded. Organizations, businesses, and collectives may not apply to the same program in succession. Again, if you already received an LPG in 2026, you cannot reapply for 2027. And again, if your organization, grantee, business, or collective was a previous grantee of any sort with First Peoples Fund, make sure that you submit all final reports for any of those previously awarded grants, okay? All right, so you saw all the eligibility requirements and you're like, yes, check, 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 we are good to go. And you want to apply, here are the steps to access our application. So application links are available on our website at www.firstpeoplesfund.org. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you the steps to be able to get to our application on our website. So you're going to go to our website. This is our lovely First Peoples Fund website here. You're going to go to programs at the top of the page here, and you're going to go to Native Performing Arts Program. All right. So let me just make sure I'm sharing this screen here. Yes, I am. Okay, cool. All right. So you're going to click on Native Performing Arts Program, and it'll take you to our Native Performing Arts Program page. So all these lovely, beautiful people here. And you're going to scroll down and you're going to go down to where it says Program Initiatives, and you're going to click on Live Production Grant. So that's the Live Production Grant tab here. It'll take you straight down to, it'll explain about the program, dates and things to keep in mind. And then you'll see this button here that says Apply Today. Okay, so this is where you'll click and it'll take you to the application on Submittable. All right. And then these are just additional documents that are here for you. If you have any questions, you'll be able to actually see an example of the application if you're applying as an individual or as an organization. So in case you wanted to just like, you know, get a little preview of what the application questions are going to look like and what the application is going to ask you for, you can go ahead and be able to see that information beforehand. But yeah, so here's where you'll find that application on this page here. So again, go to www.firstpeoplesfund.org, go to programs, click on Native Performing Arts Program, scroll down, click on Live Production Grant, scroll down, and you'll see Apply Today. Alrighty, so that's where you'll access the applications. All right, so you just get back into here. All right, so when you click on the Apply Today button, it'll take you over to Submittable. Submittable is the platform that we used for all of our applications for our funding programs at First Peoples Fund. So you will need to have an account registered with them in order to complete and submit your application. It's pretty easy to sign up, and that unfortunately we will not be able to accept any applications that are sent over email. So you must submit your application on Submittable. And if you need any support or help, please let us know and we'll, you know, be there to support in any way that we can. All right. So only one application may be submitted to the Performing Arts Program. All right, so you can either apply to the Live Production Grant, which is this grant I'm talking about today, or you can apply to the Native Performing Arts Fellowship, which is another program that's opening up soon. However, you cannot apply for both, okay? So you must decide which program to apply for, LPG or the NPA Fellowship, okay? All right, so let's get into the application requirements. So proposed live productions must be in the active stage of production and fall within the funding period of February 2027 to November 2027 if funded. Okay, so your live production needs to happen sometime during that window. All right. Again, proposed live productions that are still in development will not be considered. All right. So again, really consider, is my live production that I'm applying for ready to go if I were to be given funding right now, right? Okay. Again, some examples of live productions can include, but are not limited to, staging an original or readapted play, hosting a music event or a music festival, choreographing a dance piece, collaborating with other artists for a live performance, etc. Touring for Native performance groups, multidisciplinary theater pieces. Like literally, these are just examples that we've listed here. And if there's anything that you are wanting to propose that you're not sure whether or not does fit into the program, again, feel free to reach out. Proposed budgets should be grounded in needs and goals to ensure a live production is completed between that window of February to November 2027. All right, you will be asked to provide a budget. So really consider what resources or support you will need in order to produce your intended live production with the grant funding provided. Sometimes folks will ask me whether or not the budget just needs to be for that 30,000, or if they want to include like, you know, more in their budget that shows like, you know, the actual costs of the production. I usually recommend leaving that up to you all to decide on that. You can just submit a budget that shows that what you'll use the 30,000 for, which is the amount the grant that offers. But you can also include the budget that shows, you know, all the other costs if, you know, you want us to see the actual costs of the production. It's either or, you know what I mean? So again, I usually leave that up to you all to decide on which budget you want to submit. But again, consider what resource support you would need with the funding that we provide. All right. So again, these are some examples of live production needs that you can consider for your proposed project. You could list the costs that come with, you know, hosting virtual and in-person gatherings, such as venue fees, catering, AV equipment rentals, travel stipends, paying your artists, contractor fees, rental costs for rehearsal spaces, hiring light and sign and sound engineers, working with a tour manager or producer, insurance costs for your talent and the venues that you're performing in, advertising, social media outreach. So again, these are just examples of what people have included in their budgets. But again, you can list things that you feel like you specifically need for your live production to be successful. Okay. Just some specifics for fashion designers. If you're proposing a fashion show or a fashion event, that you must include performing artists such as dancers and or musicians, and include technical elements such as lighting, sets, etc. for your run of show and budget. If your budget is largely for fabrics and, you know, producing your creations, your clothing, unfortunately, that doesn't necessarily fall within the grant and what it's meant for. So really think about, like, you know, how can you use the $30,000 to involve performing arts into your show? And that could really vary on, like, you know, your ideas and how you want to go about that. Reoccurring annual live productions that have had 5 years or more of being presented must propose new ways or ideas that make that production distinct from other prior productions in the past. So what I mean by that is, if you have an event or a live production that you do on a yearly basis, you must provide new ways or ideas that make it different than all the other times that you have hosted or put on that event or production. So yeah, so just something to keep in mind. Again, this comes from really encouraging you to think beyond what you've already done, and really kind of, again, push yourself to kind of see how you can make something new out of something that you've done in the last like few years or so. Okay. Again, if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out. Unfortunately, film productions, either short or full-length projects, are not eligible at this time. If you do have a film project that is in need of support, I recommend applying for the Artists in Business Leadership Fellowship or the Cultural Capital Fellowship. We have previously had filmmakers who proposed film projects to both of those fellowships. So yeah, if you have a film project that's in need of support, go check out those programs and see if that's a good fit for you, okay? All right, here is the scoring criteria. So I, as the program manager, do not score applications. I merely facilitate the process of receiving applications, passing them off to our selection committee, and just really, I have no no scoring that I do at all to any of these applications. So this scoring criteria is what our review panel usually is about 3 to 4 people who make up our review panel who look at applications and score them based on this criteria. Okay, so applications are based off of the scoring application. The scoring is based on live production goals. So the applicant describes and demonstrates a clear live production proposal and budget that will strengthen their producing skills, will further and or strengthen their impact on the Native performing arts community. They will be scored on sharing, which is the applicant describes how their live production will showcase their mission and values and explains how the live production will elevate Native performing artists. They will be scored on knowing, which is work samples that demonstrate the applicant's evidence of a practice and history of presenting live productions. And applicants provide a clear and detailed overview of their work and explains how they support Native-led live productions. And lived experience is the applicant is a Native artist or Native-led organization business collective who have demonstrated experience and commitment in presenting live productions. Okay, so just to keep in mind when you're building your application that this is how applications are scored. Okay. And then the selection process, so we have 2 stages. So stage 1, so following the submission of LPG applications, First Peoples Fund will internally review and advance those that meet all the eligibility criteria and that best fit the purpose of the live production grant. Okay, so this means that I take all the applications and I make sure everything is there, everyone has their documents that are required and it's there. And when I do that, I then hand off the applications to the selection committee, to that stage 2. So the selection committee reviews the applications and they score them. Again, if you look at what the scoring criteria is that I just shared, they're listed there again here. They'll score the applications, and then a final pool of top ranked applications is discussed based on the average application rating. So all the applications will be given an average score, and the top rated scores will then move forward to the deliberation stage. So this is where the selection committee will meet and they will deliberate the top ranked applications, and from there we'll deliberate on who they feel should be funded. They recommend who should receive funding. But final decisions are made based off of the panelists' recommendation, available funding, and any relevant funding restrictions. Okay. And so committee members who score applications are typically Native artists and or culture bearers, past First Peoples Fund Fellowship alumni, past live production grant recipients, and any and other members of the Native arts and culture field. Okay. And this selection committee does vary from each year. So yeah, so that's the group that, will score applications and will give their recommendations on who gets funding. All right, and here's the timeline and important dates to keep in mind. So our application window, the LPG application will open on Wednesday, May 27th at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and it will close on Wednesday, July 8th at 5:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Okay, so keep in mind, Mountain Standard Time is the time zone the applications will close. So just be very mindful of where you are located and just making sure that, your applications are in by the time that deadline comes around, okay? Applicants will be notified of their application status by November 2026, and public announcement of selected grantees will be announced sometime in early 2027, okay? And the grant award year is for January 1st through December 31st, 2027, okay? So this is for next year. All right. Helpful tips. So this is just based off of things that I've learned in the last two previous times that we've offered this grant. So here are some tips that I want to give you all to make sure you successfully get in your application and you're well on your way. All right. So first and foremost, if you have any questions or need clarification at any time, please reach out to me. I am here to help. I would rather you reach out and ask a question and get clarification and information rather than you submitting your application and you're like, darn it, I should have asked that question before I submitted. Please, 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 please reach out. Okay, I'm here to help. I'm not as scary as I look. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Okay. My biggest tip, do not wait until the deadline date to submit an application, because there are various things that could happen if you wait until the very last, few hours before the deadline closes, right? Is sometimes web pages can crash, and they have occurred due to an overload of applications being submitted all at once. So, if you are submitting and you're submitting at the same time as a lot of people, sometimes the website will crash, right? So, to avoid that, I recommend submitting your application well before the deadline approaches, okay? The application closes right at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the dot. So submit by 5:59, because if you try to hit submit at 6, it will not take it. Okay, so submit by at least 5:59 to avoid missing the deadline. Okay. If you have any technical issues with Submittable or your Submittable account, reach out directly to Submittable. The only thing that I have access to on Submittable is your application. I do not have access to accounts. I do not have access to technical aspects of Submittable. So if there's anything that happens with your account, it's not working or something's going on, give yourself enough time to fix any technical problems that might occur, because sometimes Submittable will respond quickly and sometimes they do take a little bit of time. Alrighty, so just a heads up on that I do not have access to Submittable accounts or any technical parts of Submittable. The only thing that I have access to is your application. Okay, so again, make sure you submit ahead of time so that way anything that might come up technical wise can be fixed, and you're not like, rushing to be like, oh my gosh, the deadline's about to happen. So yeah. And then of course, proofread your application. It's never a bad idea to have someone else look at your application and give you notes and feedback, grammar check, all that stuff. However, if you do need to edit or update any information on your application, you're more than welcome to reach out to me for assistance. I am able to reopen applications so that way you're able to make any edits or changes. However, I can only do that until the deadline. Alrighty, so after that deadline of July 8th, no further edits can be made to applications. So again, if you find yourself like, oh, I forgot to put this on my application, or I put down the wrong name or number or whatever, please let me know before the deadline, because I can always reopen your application so that you can always make changes to it and resubmit it. Okay. Again, give yourself enough time to do that. Alrighty. And again, if you have any questions of any information that I've shared today, I know it's a lot of information, please reach out and ask, okay? My email is natalie@firstpeoplesfund.org. My office number is 505-278-0412. My office hours are typically Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and that any phone calls or emails outside of these hours will be answered the next business day, okay? If you call or email during the weekend, I will respond until usually on Monday when I'm back in office at 8 a.m. And if I do miss your call, please feel free to leave me a voicemail. I'm always checking my voicemail just to be sure if I missed any phone calls or anything, if I was like in meetings or anything like that, or if I was traveling. So yeah, so again, feel free to reach out to me with any questions, or if you're not sure about something. I would rather, again, you ask me questions and just reach out, rather than you submit an application and you're like, darn it, I should have asked her that question, if this, if I should have done this or done that. I can only I can only stress enough to say I am here to help. Okay, so and I will continuously say that until it sinks into your noggins. Okay, yeah. So that is all for my presentation today. And if you are applying, I wish you loads of luck. And if you are, again, in need of any assistance, please reach out. And I hope you all have a wonderful day and good luck on your application journey.